Happy Victory Monday, Vikings fans, and welcome in the Vikings Now by Chat Sports. My name is Patrick Siepman. Coming up on today's show, what did this guy, Colin Cowherd, had to say about the Minnesota Vikings 30-27 overtime win in Soldier Field? We'll share with you his thoughts here in a second. Also, what John Middlekauf had to say, former NFL scout. They both had some very interesting thoughts on this Vikings win, and they actually showed more love than I would have thought heading into this video. But before we dive into that, I just want to say thank you guys so much. We are closing in on 43,000 subscribers. We almost hit that milestone on our watch party yesterday. So seriously, thank you guys so much for all 42 and some change that have hit that sub button. But if you guys haven't already, help us reach 43,000 subs. We just need 210 more of you guys to hit that sub button. So if you guys could, go down there. Free, easy way to help to support the channel. And plus, if you guys want more Vikings content on your YouTube page, go hit that sub button. So this is what Cowherd and his man John Middlekauf had to say on the Minnesota Vikings. So he said both quarterbacks played well. I will get to Caleb in a second. Sam Darnold got hurt and came back. Some big-time throws. Sam, 22 of 34, 300-plus yards, multiple touchdowns. The Vikings had the game won multiple times in the fourth quarter, but let it slip away. So my takeaway on this is that it's not just Sam who is going to win Comeback Player of the Year. Right now, you have to take Minnesota. I mean, they aren't as good as Detroit, but I think they can play with anybody in the NFC, even Philadelphia. They are a real team. And once he mentioned Philadelphia, I'm not going to lie, guys. I woke up this morning, I was just looking at the NFC playoff picture, and I was like, all right, so the Vikings right now, they would head to Atlanta to take on the Falcons. I think they would win that game. And I think the Packers would be either the Cardinals or Seahawks, whoever wins the NFC West in that 6-3 matchup. And then you start looking, and I'm like, oh, well, if the Packers have to go to Detroit, then where would the Vikings have to go play that divisional game? It would be Philadelphia. And I got chills just thinking about that matchup. Vikings-Eagles divisional round with a chance to go to the NFC Championship game. It would be a tough matchup. And, I don't know if I would take the Vikings to come out of that one, but it would definitely be a hell of a game. And, just early thinking about the NFC playoff picture, I feel like we are on a collision course between the Eagles and Vikings eventually matching up in this year's playoffs. But his co-host, John Middlekauf, had this to say about the Vikings offense. He said, their offense is potent. Jefferson is one of the best players in the league at any position. How good is Jordan Addison to be your number two? And then this part was funny. He said, that Naylor guy. I don't even know much about the guy, but he was always making plays. And then he said Sam's arm is just big in terms of explosive plays. And he also had to say this defensively, saying, and defensively, they don't have excellent players like they did during the Zimmer days. But we all agree Brian Flores is one of the best schemers in the NFL. And then he said this, are the Vikings the sneakiest 9-2 team in the history of the league? So it got me thinking, over the last couple of years, have we seen a team with the record that the Vikings have right now go as under-talked about as they are? Still, you turn on ESPN, you turn on Fox Sports this morning, when they're talking about the Bears-Vikings game, they're not even talking about the Vikings. They're not talking about what Sam Darnold did. They all want to talk about just Caleb Williams, Chicago, and I understand it. They are doing, I'm in the business. They're doing everything for clicks. Caleb Williams, the Chicago Bears, they'll get more clicks than Sam Darnold and the Minnesota Vikings. But still, I feel like these big media sports publications are missing a huge opportunity here to dive into one of the coolest stories in the league. Sam Darnold was ran out of town in Detroit, ran out of town in Carolina, kind of got his feet wet back in the NFL with the Niners, really sat behind the scenes and definitely improved his game. But this year, the man's fourth in passing touchdowns. He has had a tremendous season, but still, you turn on NFL Network, ESPN, all these big-time media companies, they just do not talk about the Minnesota Vikings. Now, Cowherd also had this to say about the Vikings as a whole. He says, one of the things with Minnesota, they were 0 for 5 in the red zone against Jacksonville. They had today's game wrapped up. They're just not talented enough to make mistakes. On the other hand, Detroit looks like the Moss Brady Patriots. Now, I will say, I almost feel like, I don't want to say the Lions are going underrated because everybody has them probably number one in their power rankings. But I truly believe that if the Chiefs didn't go back-to-back, we're talking about this Lions team as they are just going to steamroll to win a Super Bowl. Like, if I told you guys this, flash forward to the Super Bowl, and the Lions beat the Chiefs 34 to, let's just say 13, and they just dismantled the Chiefs, the Ravens, or Bills, would that shock any of you guys? Probably not. But also this, it's not like the Lions have the number one seed wrapped up. Like, the Eagles are coming. They have a great record. They're 9-2. They're playing some of the best football in the league. And, also if you're looking forward, looking towards Week 18, like, let's just say the Lions drop a game or two from now to that Week 18 matchup, and the Vikings kind of maintain pace, and let's just say the Vikings somehow beat them Week 18, then instead of the Lions just having 2 home games to get to the Super Bowl, what if Goff has to go outdoors? Just like I was saying how I think the Vikings and Eagles are primed to meet in that divisional round, well, what if that's the Lions? What if that's Goff having to travel to Philadelphia? Like, it's not just a guarantee they're in the Super Bowl. The rest of this regular season is really going to determine how this NFC playoff picture really ends up shaking out. But let's just say the Vikings do get that number one seed. They somehow go 14-3, 15-2, and they are the number one seed in the NFC. Like, you would have probably a divisional game versus the Packers or whoever the 7th seed is, or even a team like the Cardinals or Falcons coming to your building. You win that, and then you just got a home game against the Lions or the Eagles to go to the Super Bowl. So those are what Colin Cowherd and John Middlekauf had to say about the Vikings. Now, I do want to dive more into the NFC playoff picture, talk about a couple potential matchups. But first, the Vikings are the blank best team in the NFL. This would be the pinned comment on today's show. So if YouTube throws an ad break your way, sit back, let it play, and let me know your thoughts on where the Vikings rank in the entire National Football League. Now, we'll talk about the NFC playoff picture here in a second. But first, I do want to tell you guys about today's presenting sponsor, and that is PrizePicks. If you guys download the PrizePicks app today and sign up today, you guys will get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. Just make sure you plug in promo code CLNS when doing so. And also, the best part is you don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It is completely guaranteed. So PrizePicks is the best place to get real money sports action with over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings. PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on PrizePicks. Now, they actually have a sweet deal going on right now for the Thanksgiving football games where just one Tyreek Hill receiving yard gets you 1 win on PrizePicks. Normally it's set at 85.5, but hey, Thanksgiving, when the Dolphins travel to Lambeau to take on the Packers, if Tyreek Hill just gets 1 receiving yard, you guys get 1 free win on PrizePicks. So check them out. Download the app today. Plug in promo code CONS to get $50 instantly when you create your first $5 lineup. Download the app today. Plug in promo code CONS. Get $50 instantly after you create your first $5 lineup. But massive shout out to PrizePicks for sponsoring today's show. PrizePicks, run your game. All right, let's talk about the NFC playoff picture as it shakes out after the slate of Week 12 games. I've still got the Ravens and Chargers playing on Monday night, but that does not affect the NFC conference. So, number 1 seed still goes to the Detroit Lions. They look like an absolute wagon, one of the best football teams that, honestly, I've seen in recent memory. They're a complete team. They're way better defensively than I would have imagined heading into the year, so they look good. Then the Eagles. I mean, Saquon Barkley's making a case to be the MVP of the whole NFL this season. He just went for 255 yards on the ground, which was actually the most since, if you guys could guess who, 2009, running back Adrian Peterson. So I thought that was a little fun fact there. But then you got the Seahawks at the 3 seed. And then you got the Falcons at the 4 seed. And, right now, if this is how the playoff ends, where it's Lions, Eagles, Seahawks, Falcons winning their divisions, and then Vikings, Packers, Commanders with the wild card spot. This is what I'm talking about, why I feel like we're on a collision course of the Vikings and Eagles meeting up in Philadelphia in that divisional round, because obviously Lions get the bye. And then it would be Commanders, Eagles in Philly. Eagles will smoke them. The Packers traveling to Seattle to take on the Seahawks. I would probably take the Packers in that game. Then the Vikings against Kirk Cousins and the Falcons, you probably take them. And then how it would shake out, the number 6 seed Packers would have to travel to the number 1 seed Detroit Lions. And then it would be the Minnesota Vikings squaring off with the Philadelphia Eagles in the divisional round. And, just early thoughts on what that potential matchup could look like. I will say I would be nervous because I still don't feel like the Vikings are the most physical football team. I still think they beat you with a lot of finesse. a lot of schemes, and they don't really have too many blue chippers in the trenches, especially with Christian Darrisaw, young Trent Williams out of the lineup. Where on the other hand, Philly, I mean, even though they just lost Brandon Graham for the year, they will always have an elite front seven, specifically Jalen Carter, who has just been on a tear this season. And offensively, I mean, they took Mekhi Becton, a bust for the New York Jets, put him at guard, and he's working out. We know who Lane Johnson is, and especially with Saquon Barkley doing what he's doing, they honestly give me a kind of like a feel of like I don't want to say like the Legion of Boom Seahawks in terms of how they play offensively, but they got a really good run game. And then if you sell out on the run, you're going to leave yourself susceptible to one-on-one opportunities on the outsides with A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and I just don't trust the Vikings corners in that situation. But also, I say that to say this, like offensively, I would expect the Vikings to move the ball pretty well in Philly. Now, it's going to come down to if like Sam Darnold and Kevin O'Connell, can they get the 30, 33 points instead of 20 or 24? That might be the difference in a win, but, man, that would be a hell of a matchup, Vikings-Eagles in the divisional. Now, how it shakes out right now, Vikings would be traveling to Atlanta to take on our good old friend Kirk Cousins. And, you know, I understand Kirk is a solid quarterback. We all know what Kirk is, but also imagining this Brian Flores defense going up against Kirk Cousins and that Atlanta Falcons offense, who, again, it's first year. It's not like they got, you know, great continuity and chemistry across all fronts, and they can't get to the quarterback, so Darnold will have a clean pocket. I think the Vikings offense would absolutely dominate that game, and I think defensively you would still be able to hold them to at least less than 24 points. You're probably going to end up scoring 27-30 in that game, so I would love a matchup with the Falcons. In terms of any NFC South and NFC West teams that do concern me, it's probably only the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And the only reason I say that is because they got Mike Evans back, and there's just something about Baker Mayfield this year that just would scare me in the playoffs. This dude's a baller. He is great at the backyard football types of plays, and he also has tons of trust and tons of faith in his pass-catching options. Cade Otton has been one of the better tight ends in the league. We know how good Mike Evans is, and they got a two-headed monster at running back with Bucky Irvin and Rachaad White. Like, they would be a problem, I think, for the Vikings defense, but also they have one of the worst secondaries in the league. I still feel like Justin Jefferson, Addison, Hawkinson, and crew would be able to move the football at a very, very high level. So I'll ask you guys this. Who do you want to play in the playoffs, more specifically the wild card? Let's just assume the Vikings don't get that number one seed. Who do you want to play? For me, if I had to go best matchup probably out there, it would – I honestly think it would be the Falcons. I was going to say the Seahawks, but still traveling to Seattle. Plus, you would be playing them for – the second time this season, even though it would be the same with the Falcons. But still, I would rather travel to Atlanta than traveling to Seattle to take on the 12s and Geno Smith and crew. So who I would want to play in the playoffs, I'm going to probably have to go Kirk Cousins and the Falcons. But you guys let me know your thoughts down below. Also, give me a follow on Twitter. Handle right there at Pat Seeps. See you guys next time. Skol Vikes.